think that AI is more empowering people or making them more dependent on AI?
Unfortunately, right now, probably more dependent.
Why do people still are able to fail if they follow word to word a right advice given to them?
It's the belief in the identity, which is the big issue. Our thoughts create our beliefs, and our beliefs create our identity. And so there has to be a transformational impact in the identity of someone for it to take root, stick, and keep going.
In your life and all your teaching, developing yourself, have you ever experienced any sort of failures and how you go over them?
All the time. Well, one of them I talk about in my book, Choose to Win. I had this brilliant idea. I was like 33 years old. I wanted to start a new business. I got dad behind it. Man, we spent a lot of money doing the business plan, getting consultants and experts in. On paper, the numbers looked incredible.
In this process of you creating your own image to the world so that nobody can say, ah, yeah, he's just a son of a Zig, that's why he is famous, not because he has a skills, he has a real way to help other people. I want to ask you, is there anything you needed to unlearn in that process?
Yeah, the big thing I had to unlearn was my belief on what people expected. When I go back to when I started speaking, the first year, like the first 5 or 10 times I spoke, it was gut-wrenching. I mean, my stomach was in knots, worried about it.
Have you ever felt pressure growing up with him? How this childhood shaped you to become Tom Ziglar you are today? How do you make your decisions? How you used to decide which road to go? Guys, I need to say something. We're building something really special here. The level of guests, the conversations, the depth we are going in week by week, it's becoming better and better, more and more valuable. But there is one thing which doesn't make any sense. Almost 90% of you who keep watching the episodes, who keep coming back week by week, are not subscribed yet. Which means one thing, you're not fully part of that journey. I get it, it's one click, it feels small, but for us, and myself personally, means everything. It tells the algorithm that we matter, it helps us reach bigger guests, and create better and better podcast episodes, which at the end of the day are equally for myself like for yourself. They bring the value. So if there was ever a moment to support us, I please you to do it right now. Check if you're subscribed, and if you're not, it's completely free. It doesn't mean to you that much like it means to us. Just click the subscribe button, and by that way, you will help us grow bigger and bigger. And what I can promise you is that me and my team will continue making improves and very soon move ourselves to the real studio where we will record even more powerful episodes with same and new guests. Check, are you subscribed? And subscribe right now. Thank you. Tom Ziglar, thank you so much for coming today on my show. I really appreciate your time. And I have prepared a lot of questions for you, but before we even start, I want just slowly to touch base your beautiful childhood in the way that you grow up with one of the most influential people in the world of sales, Zig Ziglar. My first question to you is, how this childhood shaped you to become Tom Ziglar you are today?
Yeah. Well, I tell many people, as good as Dad was on stage, he was even better off stage.
Beautiful.
So he was an amazing husband, father, example, and the way it really prepared me was just in watching him just relish and love helping people. Like that was like the thing that really drove him. He, of course, kind of made his name first in sales. And what he realized is that, there is no better profession than selling. It's the proud profession. In fact, I was born February 1st, 1965, in Columbia, South Carolina. And on February 2nd, 1965, there was a birth announcement in the Columbia newspaper that he put in, and it said that John Thomas Ziglar, a salesman, was born February 1st, 1965. So
beautiful.
So I am a born salesman, and I have proof. I have a birth announcement in the newspaper. Now, the thing about selling is serving. Selling is always for the client, the prospect's benefit. And it's the highest moral calling of all when you think about it, because a skilled sales professional can convince somebody that they need something. And so if you don't have the virtues and the moral backing to really know what is best for your client, then you can misuse that skill. And so that's
100%.
what I saw that, yeah, that's what I saw in Dad is he always put integrity and character and love and the other person's needs first.
Have
You
you
know,
ever Whenever you come to the salesperson will tell you, I know how to help you. We are having perfect solution for you. But in fact, you have a great product, you have a great offer, you know that you can help so many people, but yourself still inconsistent. Why it's like that? Because you misunderstand two basic principles. And let me tell you something, it's not economy, it's not war, it's not current president or political situation, none of that. Because simply you and money were always on the same planet, planet Earth. You never left the planet and most likely money never did it, right? The only two ways are the reason why it's like that. Number one thing, which can be the reason, is that you don't know the right way of presenting your offer. Number two can be that you don't know the proper way to whom to present it, which boils down to you don't know to whom to sell, or you don't know the right way to speak to the people to whom to sell. I have been scaling in the past 10 years multiple of my own companies and companies of my clients from zero to $200,000 in sales, being in China, selling physical perishable items like food and beverages, and without speaking Chinese, without writing Chinese, and without knowing how to sell to Chinese people. But I knew one core principle, and this is that psychology of people never change. So I knew to whom to sell, and I knew exact way how to present my offer to them. I was scaling up my digital businesses to hundred thousands of dollars, again understanding two core principles: to whom to sell, so who can benefit from my offer, and the way, when, and how to present them my offer. And there is no magic and there is no secret behind that. It's really easy to understand it. But in order to this video be very short, I put all of this together in the school community, which is completely for free. You can join it right now, clicking on the link below in the description box, and you can discover these two principles. It will take you a couple of days to figure it out yourself and to practice it, and then your sales will become consistent. Until then, see you in the school community. Bye for now. I felt pressure growing up with him in the way that one day you have to continue be the same or even better than him.
yeah. So what's interesting about that is he never put pressure on any of us, my sisters included, following a specific path. Whether it was, like you could see where the pressure might be, hey, be a speaker, be a writer, be a sales professional. He never put that pressure on. The only thing he said was this. He said, whatever you do, if you do it with 100% integrity and 100% effort, I'll support it. And so basically, he was just saying, hey, you've got your own gifts, talents, skills, desires. And if you go into something all in and you do it with complete integrity, I'm 100% behind you. And so he was, and that's how he supported us and loved us and raised us. So a lot of a lot of freedom in that.
Is there anything what all of us celebrate around your dad, but your experience felt differently in a childhood and growing up with him?
Yeah, I mean the public perception is that he had like this incredible, outgoing, vivacious personality, but at home he was an introvert. He was quiet. He
Wow.
was reserved, reading, studying, thinking. And then when he got in public, he had like this stage presence, and it was charismatic, right? It was very like in you just want the energy he brought. You just wanted to be around that. And so people who got to know him, they would see the quiet times. They go, "Huh, that's not what I thought." And I think that gives us, no matter what our natural personality style is, um, that just to me that's a powerful example of how we can take whatever we have and maximize it, utilize it. It's there's people in different professions, and you think, oh, they're an engineer, they're going to be real analytical, and man, I know engineers who are great communicators and
Yeah.
right. So it just depends on what your focus is and how you develop it.
Yeah, it's exactly. If you say today that you're a salesperson, everybody immediately says like, "Oh my God, they're a shark. They're going to sell me something. They're going to persuade me." People have certain, like, let's say, pre-frames before they even communicate with you or meet you, and it's absolutely normal. But that's actually very interesting what you share here, that your father was at home introvert and outside extrovert, and I want to ask you only one more thing around that topic, and this is that have you ever felt that your future and your career were already destined being a son of Zig Ziglar, or you felt that this is also something what you want to do and that it was also your passion, thing which you love, and that it's not just given to you, but you also fall in love with that by the time?
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts here. When I first started working with the company, I was just out of college. And I moved through the warehouse working there in our production facility. We used to make our own cassette tapes and VHS tapes back in the day. Then I moved into sales, really fell in love with sales. Um, and we were at an event, and there was about 20,000 people at this event. It was an Amway event. And dad was the surprise keynote speaker. So 20,000 people knew that they were going to have this big surprise. I didn't know who it was. And so what they did is they emptied the arena. It was like a big basketball arena, and they emptied it at 5. Everybody had to leave and go eat dinner. And then we came in and we were setting up our product tables in the back of the arena. So that's where we had the books and the cassette tapes and the VHS. So we had about 15 or 20 tables of that stuff. And then we had to put tablecloths over the books and the tape programs so that when people came in, they wouldn't know that Zig Ziglar was going to be there. And so uh, at 7 o'clock, they open it up, and it's classic. Thousands of people are running down to get the good seats. And one of the very first people through the door, he's running down and he looks over at our product table. And one of the tablecloths had not been folded over, and you could see dad's picture sticking out on the book. And this guy just turned and came straight to the table and he says, "Is Zig Ziglar going to speak here today?" And I was like, "Shh, don't tell anybody." And I covered it up. I said, "Don't tell anybody. He's a surprise." And he goes, "Okay, I won't tell anybody." And then he says, "Is he going to be signing autographs?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, where's the line to sign autographs? I want to be the first in line." And I said, "Well, he's going to be at that table down there, but he doesn't speak until midnight. So that's 5 hours, right? Because it's 7 o'clock."
Yeah.
And I said, "And this is an Amway event, so it's going to go over. So he's probably not going to speak until 1 in the morning. So why don't you just go sit down and, at 11:30 or 12, if you want to come back and get in that line that nobody knows exists because I don't know who's speaking, you're welcome to do that." And he said, "No, I'll just go stand in line now." And so he goes and gets in a line that nobody knows exists. So he's at the back of the room, the whole event's going on, and he's just standing there by himself. So about 2 hours into it, I go to him and I say, "What's your story?" Because, like, who stands in line for
For so
five
long.
hours
Yeah.
and nobody knows there's a line? And so he says, "Well, I'm from Central America. I immigrated here and for the American dream. My brother was already here. He lived in Chicago. I moved in with my brother. And after I was here for 3 weeks, I said to my brother, hey, if I'm going to be successful in America and follow the American dream, I need to learn English. And he said, my brother gave me this book and see you at the top. And my brother said, take this book in English, read it. Here's the Spanish American dictionary, uh, translate it into Spanish as you go, and then translate it back, English to Spanish, Spanish to English. And he said, when you're done doing that double translation, you'll learn English and it will change your life. And so this guy starts crying. And he says, when I came here, I was an alcoholic. My wife was about to leave me with our three kids. And I was at the end of my rope. And this book changed my life. I got my marriage back in line. I'm sober. I don't drink anymore. And now I've got my main job and I've got this thing. I'm pursuing the American dream, all because of this book, See You at the Top. And so I think I was 27. Um, that's when I realized the business we were in. And that is, we're not in the book and tape business because that's what I was there to sell. We're in the life-changing business,
Yeah,
right? And so that's when I flipped, right? That's when instead of a job to make some money while I was learning and growing, it became a passion, right? So
exactly.
that was,
That's very beautiful because your realization that you're changing people's life and the influence your father is able to transfer through his book, presentations, keynotes to other people, the motivation, it's actually a good calling. And probably you don't need any other reason to continue his legacy but that story. Of
that's
course,
right.
there are many others, but like that was enough for you in that moment to decide.
So that was phase one. And then phase two was really understanding that I could never, and I knew this, and nobody else can either. Nobody can be Zig Ziglar,
Yeah,
right? Only, and so then you have to like dig in and say, what are my gifts and talents? And they're different. And so if I'm going to be in the life-changing business, I've got to use my natural gifts and talents and elevate them, my skills to serve that. And so I present, I speak, I lead completely in whole my own style, right? And so when those two things came together, that's where I started to take off. And that's really the decision everybody's got to make in their life is what am I what am I passionate about and how am I gifted? What and then how do I merge those two things so that I can solve problems for people? And that's why I love sales because we're in the problem solving business. Uh,
100%.
and well, you know what? Leadership is the same, parenting is the same, school teaching is this. I mean, we are in a position where we can make a difference in somebody else's life. And if it's about us, then we're in a transactional world and it's a world filled with fear, anxiety, and worry because we're only as good as our last sale and will they like me and did my last impression go well and will they give me a referral in the future. That's a hard world to live in. It's the natural world, it's what most people live in, but when we just step back and say, my job is really to anticipate a future problem they're going to have and then help them avoid it for their benefit. And if there's something that we can work together on, fantastic. And if not, now's not the time, that's okay too. And so it's all for their benefit. So there's not a built-in, ex, you know, uh, entanglement or requirement that they say
Mhm.
yes. And that's really a powerful position to be in.
Tom, that's very beautiful what you share here, and thank you for sharing such a personal part of the stories. The way how you build yourself and your image in front of the people, it's pretty good because you was trying to deliver something what is you, what is unique. Yes, I'm Ziegler. That's amazing. That's beautiful. But I will not rely only on that. And this is what makes you today, you and your company, such a successful and unique. I want to ask you in this process of you creating your own image to the world so that nobody can say, ah, yeah, he's just a son of a Zig. That's why he is famous, not because he has a skills. He has a real way to help other people. I want to ask you, is there anything you needed to unlearn in that process?
Yeah, the big thing I had to unlearn was my belief on what people expected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the first, I'll just, when I go back to when I started speaking, the first year, like the first 5 or 10 times I spoke, it was gut wrenching. I mean, my stomach was in knots. I was, worried about it. Um, and then I would speak and I'd get good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, oh, that was great, because you come off the stage and you feel that little bit of rush and like, well, that was good. And then the next engagement would come and the same process. And so I had to, I mean, like figuratively, but also almost literally, I sat myself in the corner and I'm like, why am I getting so anxious and worried about this? And so the belief I had, which was a lie, was that I believed people wanted me to
Mm-hmm.
speak like my dad. And that's not what people want. They did want me to have the same values, the same principles as my dad. But really what people want is for you to be the best version of yourself possible. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I can do that because that's who I am. And the funny thing is I'd heard dad tell that, don't try to be me, be yourself, right? I'd heard him say that 1,000 times. He never said it to me, but that was still something I had to unlearn was to get really comfortable and confident in who I am. And so when I speak, I tell people I'm a nerd. I've got a very dry sense of humor. I like to know the why behind the why. It's very logical, everything that I do. And it's a totally different style. And I think it's effective and and it's not for everybody. Well, guess what? There were people who complained about dad, not very many, but there were some, right?
Yeah, of course, like in
Uh,
every industry, in everybody in the world, like there is
yeah.
no.
So I had to unlearn that because it allowed me to, uh, number one, kind of enjoy and get excited about going out there versus hating the experience. If you hate the experience over and over again, you're not in it for long. I mean, it's just too hard. And number two is, we should work on our weaknesses to make them um, acceptable, but it's really our strengths that are going to take us where we want to go. And
Mhm.
so it just allowed me to work on my strengths, right? And I still study and try to figure out how to present better and all that stuff. So I didn't throw that out, but the emotional position, because here's the thing, whether you're speaking or selling, it's kind of the same thing. Um, Dad said that selling is a transference of feeling,
Mhm.
and speaking is a transference of conviction. So when you
Yeah,
speak, you've got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, to get the audience to line up with the conviction you have so that they go and take action. And in order for that to happen, you've got to believe in yourself. I
absolutely.
mean, right. And so the problem in sales is, and this is why it's such a mindset and self-image game, is you can have the best product or service in the world, but if you doubt your own ability to communicate that, that's what the client's going to buy. Doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and so
Absolutely.
once you,
They can feel
yeah,
it. it's simply transformational effect which they can feel
Yeah.
because you imitate this from yourself. And Tom, I want to ask you now, because you have been in the industry for a very long, you have seen a lot of transformations. You said that you started in the company selling MC cassettes and videotapes. After that, probably the company transitioned to CDs or DVDs. After that, this industry moved completely online. And couple of principles never change in sales, especially. And I want to ask you, do you think that personal development industry it's often selling a hope or telling the truth? How do you see this? Because many times I can see on the social medias, especially now when AI it's all around, where people are selling the pitch in the way like if you don't join now, you drop behind, you're forever behind. You lose this trend to learn and to join the AI era and to transition further on. And this sounds to me like they're selling a hope to people through some scarcity. How do you see this in nowadays industry, and how do you see industry transform when it comes to selling a message before selling the product or the offer?
Yeah, wow, this is a great question. And I'll give you some stats and it's going to take a second to really dig it out. But so Gallup just did so every year the Gallup poll, they do all kinds of surveys and things. And so they did a leadership assessment early this year, and they surveyed tens of thousands of employees. And they said, what do you want most in a leader? Like what are the values?
Hmm.
And so here's the crazy thing. Number one that they said they wanted their leader to provide was hope.
Hmm.
Number two was trust.
Oh, wow.
And so let's think about this for a second. Well, why is hope number one? Well, another word for hope is vision. And so when you share your vision with what's possible for somebody on your team, and you keep sharing it and you keep sharing it, all of a sudden internally they go, wow, this is great. I have hope in the future. If I stay here, this is going to be an amazing thing. We're going to accomplish great things together. But internally, it does something deeper. And that is, if they keep sharing the hope and the vision with me, that means that I must be important, that what I do matters, that I have a say in this, and they get agency. And that's what people inside of organizations are looking for. They're looking for that uh, that feeling of belonging, that what I do matters, that there's a place for me in the future. And then trust is the second thing, because as soon as you lose trust, then everything else is secondary, right? But it's interesting that hope came first. So in the sales process, um, we got to sell the hope, right? We gotta tell people, hey, you can, solve this problem in the personal development industry. You can take control of your mind and your thoughts and create the life you want. But then I'll anchor it on this. And this is the missing ingredient. One of my favorite Zig Ziglar quotes that's not very well known, but this is one of my favorite ones. His dad said, never give a promise without a plan.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so what is hope?
that's a
Hope
true
is a
one.
promise. Okay. So now what's the plan? And and so when we sell or when we speak, we've got to, number one, create a hope and a conviction that people will take action. And then we got to come right back around and give a plan that if they follow and we give the support underneath it, that if they follow these steps and they follow through and they're accountable and whatever that solution is, that they're going to get the results that they want, right? That they are going to grow. And that's the failing. The failing isn't the sizzle of the hope. That's not the failing. The failing is if there's no plan behind it, like if there's no support. Uh, probably 30 years ago, Dad asked Lori Majors, who was his personal assistant, to review all the testimonials. He said, count them. How many have we gotten? And this isn't the days before email. So this is all like handwritten, typed out stuff mailed in. And so she goes back into the archives and calls him the next day and says, Mr. Ziegler, there's too many to count. We're going to have to weigh them. I mean, that's how many testimonials we were
Hmm.
getting. And then he said, well, why don't you read a bunch of them and find out what was the pivot point that changed their life? Okay. For every person that said, your speech changed my life, 99 people said it was your product, your coaching,
Yeah.
your audio program. In other words, change and transformation is very, very rarely one and done, right? It always takes consistency over time. And so that's why in our industry, if a speaker has a life-changing message and they deliver it awesomely, I think they have a moral responsibility to say, and this is how you continue with it,
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And then they have a moral responsibility to make sure that how they continue with it gives them everything they need that if they follow through to be successful. And that's the where the breakdown is the front end message is so powerful, but the back end message doesn't have the plan.
Mm. When you speak about plan, I always take this as okay, I can give to somebody 100% right advice, what to do. He or she still can fail. Then I was looking very much in details to see what is the reason for that. And I want to hear it now from you because you're somebody who have decades of experience. Why do people still are able to fail if they follow word to word a right advice given to them?
Yeah. So fewer people um the it's the belief in the identity which is the big issue.
Hmm.
Our thoughts create our beliefs and our beliefs create our identity. And so there has to be a transformational impact in the identity of someone for it to take root, stick, and keep going. And so think about this. If I'm selling you something and convincing you and telling you what to do, and you say, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." I mean, look at the results, look at all the stuff, but I've taken no ownership of that decision. Like I'm just taking it because you said I should. Then the likelihood of transformation is very low. So what needs to happen, and this is why I love selling, is great selling is really great questions,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And we have a leadership program, and it's one of the premier things that we do, and it's called coach leadership. And we coach leaders how to coach their people. And so the best way to lead people is through great questions. Because if I ask you a series of questions around what you want to accomplish in your work role, your answers are going to be your answers. And then if I say, well, how are you going to develop that in yourself? And you tell me, you've just created a plan for yourself.
Hmm.
Right. And if so, what does that mean? It means you have ownership in it. So if I say to you, here's 7 steps that you follow and you'll have success. And you're either at the end of your rope or you have an enormous amount of trust in me and it'll work for you. The majority of people are like, well, those 7 steps, they sound pretty good, but maybe they work for other people. I'm not sure if they're going to work. But if I reframe that and I ask you, so what are you currently doing?
Hmm.
What do you think you should be doing? What's going to happen if you don't do anything? Well, what do you think you could do? Right. Well, they're probably going to create a pretty close version of those 7 steps by the way that I asked them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now they've got their own plan. And if I can come back in with the support. And so, uh, going back to that original question, why doesn't it stick? It's because they haven't transformed that solution into a belief. Hey, I believe this because I created it. And then if I believe it often enough and do it often enough, it now becomes the identity.
Yeah,
I'm no longer the person who did X, I'm the person who does Y.
absolutely. And
Okay.
that's very well explained. Thank you for this. And I want to ask you, in your life and all your teaching, developing yourself, have you ever experienced any sort of failures and how you go over them, you personally?
All the time.
Okay, this now breaks the idea which we all have, like, about, okay, Tom Ziegler, he must be absolutely perfect. Can you share some of them? Because I'm very curious, what is your method of going over those and how overcoming them?
Yeah, well, one of them I talk about in my book, Choose to Win. And I talk about how I had this brilliant idea. I was like 33 years old. I wanted to start a new business. I got dad behind it. And man, we spent a lot of money doing the business plan, getting consultants and experts in. On paper, the numbers looked incredible. Uh, you know, we can all build those spreadsheets, right?
100%. 100%.
And man, we launched it, and boy, did it take off. And but within 45 days, that momentum just stalled, and then we lost over $2 million in the next year.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
That's a big
yeah,
loss.
and but worse than that, what I believed is we'd lost our reputation, and so I went to bed every night thinking, "Gosh, Dad spent his whole career building his reputation, and I've lost it in a year, right? Because we were in debt, we owed people money,
Yeah.
um, and Dad never lost, he never got upset, he never lost his faith. He said, "Don't worry about it, it's going to be okay." Um, so we shut down that business. And disappointed a lot of people, but we ended up paying back all that money. And it took several years to do that. But there was a year where I had a Nokia phone. You remember those Nokia flip phones? I don't know if you ever had one back in the day.
100%. Yeah. I still remember them.
You know the ringtone that Nokia phone had?
Yeah.
It's like, well, every time I hear that, you don't hear it very often anymore. I'll hear it once or twice a year. My stomach will go into a knot.
Oh, you have the pattern of feeling how it rings and how bad it's for you, right?
Because for that year, every time that phone rang, it meant somebody was calling me wanting to know when we were going to pay them.
I can imagine that.
So I'm
And
going
then
home one,
the hardest thing is probably like, oh my God, what am I gonna say now?
yeah. So I'm driving home one day, and my good friend, mentor Bruce Barber, we're talking on the phone, and I just had 10 hours of that phone ringing, and he said, "How are you doing?" And I said, um, "It's been a hard day." He said, "What's going on?" And I told him, I'd had all these calls. And he said, "Let me ask you something. Did you answer every phone call?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you tell them the truth?"
Oh, did
I said,
you?
"Yeah, I did." I said, "I did tell them the truth, every one." He said, "Well, do you think God expects any more than that?"
Yeah.
I said, "No." He goes, "You need to go home, be with your family, and sleep great because you did all you could." Um, that was a turning point for me. And so when we have a failure or a disappointment, when we mess up, um, we dig in and we try to figure out how to make it right. and then we tell the truth all the way through it. And there's a great quote, and this is from a mystic, and I can't remember the mystic's name. I think it's John of the Cross, but he
Hmm.
said, "God cares not for the greatness of the work, but only for the love in which it's done."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And so when we look at what we're doing, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because of the greatness of the work. Man, this is going to be big. I'm going to make a lot of money. It's going to help a lot of
Yep.
people. Everybody's going to like me.
The
Um,
expectation bar it's very high at the very beginning.
and and God doesn't care. I mean, what's big? What's great to God? I mean, come on. It's like the creator of the universe is like, what are we going to do? What does he care about? The love in which we do it.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
very
How we
beautiful. That's
treat other people, the love that drives it, the problems we're solving. This is why sales is so incredible because if you're in it to solve problems and make other people's lives better, and it doesn't matter. I was working with a company that does high-end HVAC and refrigeration,
hmm
and he goes, our technicians don't believe that their work matters. And I go, well, you guys work in the commercial world, so you're in manufacturing plants, and if your cooling systems break down, then the food could go bad, right? And he goes,
Kind
yeah.
of.
And so
Yeah.
they have to shut the line down. And he said, yeah. And they have 400 employees. And he said, yeah, they do. And I said, well, if they shut the line down while you have to go back in and fix it, do they send those people home with pay? And he goes, oh no, they're all hourly. They would go home without pay, right? And I
hmm
go, well, if I'm an hourly worker in a manufacturing food plant and I lose a day or two of wages because your team didn't do their job, that probably means they don't have Christmas that year because those people are living paycheck to paycheck. So you guys, when you do your job, you give Christmas, right? You're Christmas to those people. And what about at the
Awesome.
hospital? When if they lose their power system, what happens there? Oh, they'd lose their blood supply and their I
Yeah,
go, you
everything.
guys save lives, right? And so no matter what you're selling or doing, there are lives at stake. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the love that drives us, right? Because we want those factory line workers to have Christmas. We want those patients in the hospital to get the care they need. And
Yeah,
we just think
absolutely.
we have a lowly position, but we don't. We have a position that allows us to really change lives.
That's beautiful. And see the perspective, how you tweak those stuffs and ask those questions is actually what makes you a great salesman because the way how you can shift a perspective, it creates a complete different view in a prospect and it creates a complete different feeling how the prospect now feels himself or herself starting from those shoes, which is very brilliant. I want to ask you something what is for me very personal because I grew up in a family of parents who were just a normal worker. My father was an architect on the construction field. My mother was a farm worker on our farm. And the way how we used to make decisions back that time was based on are they expensive or cheap decisions. Not not around what is the outcome they can get. And one of the biggest obstacle for me being entrepreneur in over almost a decade now, in over 9 years, was to start making my decisions based on their outcome. Are they good or bad, and how will they reflect in the future if I make these decisions or decline them? My question to you is: you grow up in completely different environment than myself. How do you make your decisions nowadays, and how you used to decide which road to go?
Yeah, there's this based on what you say with outcomes. I make decisions on price versus cost.
Mm-hmm.
Price is a one-time thing, cost is a lifetime thing,
Oh yeah, that's a good
right?
one.
Yeah. So then there's the sunk costs. Like I love what you say about outcomes. Uh, we'll go down a path and we'll invest a lot of time and money into it. And we want to keep putting money into it because we don't want to let go of that investment. Um, but the reality is the greatest leaders in the world, they could come up with a fantastic idea. They put it in their team. Their team runs, and a team member comes back and says, "Hey, this is really good, but I think I found something better." So that leader has to have the humility, which is like a foundational quality of leadership, to say, you know what, your idea is better. And that's an outcome-based proposition. And so I use a very similar format. What gives us the best chance to win?
Mhm. That's
Outcome.
that's a good analyzation how you do that. That's nice to pick up from you because I never thought about this cost versus price ratio, and that's actually a very good thing that cost is a lifetime. So love that one. Tom, I have a couple of more questions which I want to break down with you, and one of them is uh, nowadays we are witnessing that everything is changing so fast. It's a very, very rapid change in the markets and in the marketing area, in the social medias, AI, literally everywhere. How do you find principles of your father and of you are surviving all those changes? And
Yeah.
is there any of them which is like kind of like not surviving, and how do you see that?
Yeah. Um, so we've always been around our focus is timeless truths, right? So
Hmm.
the older wisdom is, the more likely it's true because it's stood the test of time. So AI and all the innovation and speed and all the things that are happening are just validating who we
Hmm.
are and what we do. And I'll give you an example. Say 30 years ago, if we were in a company and we put in a sales training proposal where we come in and train their team, sometimes that company would come back and they'd say, "Hey, would you like to hear what your competitors are saying about you?" I'd be like,
Hmm.
"Sure." And so they would say, "Well, we told them that we were looking at Ziglar," and their response was, "Oh, you know, Ziglar's all just that fluff and motivation. What you need is sales skills." And that's what we do. So they were criticizing uh, motivation, self-image, mindset,
Yeah,
and
putting it on the
emphasizing,
side like it's not important. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've got a message for everybody in the industry. You take a knowledgeable insider at a company in AI, and they'll build you a better sales training skills program in overnight than it'll compete with any program on the market. AI makes the skills part of it simple, right? This is how
Yeah.
you do it, right? So, so what is the difference? Well, there's two things that AI can never do, and there's more than two, but there's two words that I love, and that's transformation and belief.
Yeah.
And so all the skill stuff, everything that we deliver, AI is handling it except for the transformation and belief. Like if I'm leading an organization or a sales team or whatever, I have to take them on a transformational journey, which is always going to be based around principles and values. It's going to be around the virtues. It's going to be around the timeless things. And write this one down. A good friend of mine said this, and I quote him all the time, Owen Fitzpatrick. He said, AI will never believe in you.
Oh
And
wow.
so
Yeah.
So ask yourself this question, and I do this with rooms all the time. How many of you here today have done more than you thought you could because someone else believed you could? Every hand goes up.
Yeah.
A parent, a coach, a teacher, a mentor, whatever. AI doesn't do that. AI can't. It's soulless. I mean, it can tell us, it can give us all the flowery language and say, "Oh, Tom, You have infinite wisdom and great questions. I've never imagined somebody as smart as you would access me, right? I mean, all that stuff that gets the dopamine going in our brain. But guess what? We don't believe it. It's it's math, it's programmed. And but what does AI do? It it allows us to maximize our time in the one activity it really can't do, which is build relationships. So if I can use technology to put me in touch with exactly the right people and educate the people before I get there so that I have more time to build a relationship and listen to their needs and help them transform and then believe in them like, hey, you can do this. This is going to work, right? They borrow that belief from me until it works. That's what it's all about. So our timeless wisdom around values and virtues is more needed and necessary than ever. And this world is more confused than ever.
Mm.
It's
Do you think that AI it's more empowering people or making them more dependent on AI?
uh, that's a unfortunately right now probably more dependent.
Yeah,
Uh,
we share the same opinion about that. I also think
yeah,
so.
it's kind of like I remember when all of a sudden websites and email became the big thing, and there was like this undercurrent that says, "Oh, great, we're not gonna need salespeople anymore. We're just gonna send people emails, and
Oh, I love
and
this.
they're
Yeah,
gonna log on to the website, and then they're gonna buy, right? Because the copy's perfect and everything's written." Uh, didn't work, and all these companies that bet on that, they had to come back around and develop their salespeople again. So, and
100%. I'm always saying that even from the first caveman who wanted to trade a piece of meat for a piece of rock stone or whatever it is, he made that sale. Until today, human buy from human, and there is absolute no chance that we will skip that easy because millions of years are showing us in the past that this is possibly to be done only human to human. Tom, with the respect to your time, I want to ask you: is there anything what I haven't asked you, but you truly want to share with our audience today?
yeah, man, you've done a great job on the questions. I if there was if there was a mindset that I would encourage you and everybody listening to this is this disruption in the world right now is lower than it's ever going to be. What does that mean? It means that disruption is going to continue in intensity and frequency, right? And we
Yeah.
can talk about big world events, wars and economies and all that stuff, or we can talk about AI, how it's changing the way we do life and do work. All these things are just intensifying. And what we've got to do is embrace it. Like we got to say, you know what? My gift and my mindset is I'm growing and I learn and I adapt. And the more disruption there is, the better it is for me because there are more people out there hurting. And that's really what I'm here for is to go out and serve and solve problems for people who are hurting. There's going to be a lot of change in industries and different job types and all that stuff. But if your mindset is, well, this is fantastic, how can I help and serve other people in this process? You're going to win. You're going to be an early adopter of it. You're going to figure out the gaps. Unfortunately, the majority of people are going to sit back and they're going to say, "Yeah, I'm too old to learn that," or "That's for
Hmm.
other people." And those are the ones who get left behind. Um, so your question should be, how can I love and serve my community better? What skills do I need to develop? What attitudes do I need to adopt? And what efforts do I need to employ?
Was this a reason why you wrote a book, to leadership, 10 leadership values for disruptive times?
Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
That's very beautiful. Thank you so much, Tom. I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being today with me here and sharing your wisdom. And you touched some topics, and with a couple of quotes, you completely shaked my mindset. So I'll definitely go to re-listen them once again after this episode and to pick them for myself. I really thank you from bottom of my heart, and everything you're doing in the sales industry. It's absolutely beautiful to see from someone who is also in the sales, and my congratulations to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.